Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week we're watching 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
A grieving mother, portrayed by Frances McDormand, tries to find a new way to get the local police that she feels are just wallowing away, not really doing anything about her daughter's death. She gets these 3 billboards, pays for them, and sends a message to the chief and the town, and especially the policeman, about what the hell are you doing trying to resolve the crimes of my daughter, and no one's been found. This is Martin McDonagh at his most serious. We mentioned last week the Banshees of Inisherin, how he's kind of continuing that seriousness of the film. This is a film that I was really taken aback by. I remember, Andy, you telling me when it came out, when it was out for loads of awards, please watch it. He's absolutely incredible. And I went in and I was blown away by the film, the writing, the performances, the dialogue, the overarching theme and everything. And this is actually only my second time watching it from then. It's absolutely fantastic. And I forgot just how good this one was.
I know. And the thing is, right, Martin McDonagh at the time, we'd done In Bruges, wonderful, like sort of rompy comedy, and then 7 Psychopaths as well, which I know like we did on the channel quite a while ago. We weren't too keen on. But after that, you can see there's a little bit of drama intent in his work. He's starting to get a little bit of like comedy with drama at the same time. And then here, just it does feel in some respect he's come out of nowhere with this mastery of dramatic tension while also still being able to ensure it's got a comedic undertone to it. And I think that heart and soul of this film is Frances McDormand's performance.
I would say it's probably her best performance I've seen. I mean, don't get me wrong, Fargo is brilliant. She's fantastic in the Fargo, and her kind of little quirks that she has up there. But in this, is never a figurehead that you can get behind, but at the same time is morally flawed. However, with her, she just has this presence, this stern face, this stern frame of mind. And she's just like a bulldozer barging through everything to get to the very bottom of the case of who killed her daughter. And it's mesmerizing to watch. It is a performance out there. She is, I was just thinking about this when I watched it. She's easily up there as one of my favorite actors because everything she touches just turns to gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we last talked about Frances McDormand in Nomadland. And I think that, both of these films touch on sort of a Midwestern American location. They're both set in Midwestern America. They both deal with aesthetically similar places, but the characters are worlds apart. Now, supporting her, she has, I think, a really understated performance from Woody Harrelson. Because
he's not in this film much.
He's
at least
not.
Half it. It's stunning.
Obviously, he's not in it much because he gets, I think, the most emotionally impactful scene of the film. It's really harrowing, that moment where you finally, final spoiler warning now in case you haven't watched the film, please go watch it. But that moment where really quite unceremoniously takes the gun, walks out to the barn, and then with his beautifully written notes, very honest, very earnest approach to people, the sort of honesty and earnesty that, we're able to assume is what has endeared the town to him in the first place. And then puts the gun to his head and just, with Martin McDonagh also forcing us to watch the fallout of that and the ramifications of it and the impact of it, because ultimately I think that's what 3 Billboards is really sort of about. It's not necessarily about the acts of violence and indignancy that go on. It's about the fallout that happens afterwards.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And what you're saying there about the post process of seeing everyone dealing with his death, you also see that lovely build-up that's mentioned in his note, and you have some cinematography that's absolutely amazing by Ben Davies, who we touched on with Banshees of Inisherin. You have those lovely scenes of him with his daughters. You have that lovely conversation with him and his wife, I think she's got a migraine, she's feeling a bit unwell. And you have this moment of the joy, and he mentioned this in his note, this happiest time of his life, and he wants to be remembered for that. And then you go from such highs to an incredibly emotionally impactful speech. Incredible.
It is. And then I want to give one more tip of the hat here in terms of performances to Sam Rockwell, because he's given a really unlikable character at first, a very, very difficult challenge, I think, of performing a character who is not necessarily directly racist, but rather just bigot in general. You know, he's sort of offended by the idea of homophobia as well as people being black. And a lot of actors would struggle to still eventually turn that narrative round to being a sympathetic character. And while Sam Rockwell's character maybe doesn't become fully sympathetic, you start to empathize with him a bit more. Partly given that, you know, I love that Woody Harrelson's letter to him is this letter of encouragement. He says to him, you know, like, I believe that you might actually be able to become a great detective, but you got to put in the fucking work. You know, you got to start being more responsible. But I don't think the payoff would be as satisfying if we didn't get some of Sam Rockwell's absolutely, you know, horrifying acts, both made in jest and also in a very serious manner. The serious manner being the gorgeous shot that Ben Davies pulls off, where it's a single shot from that follows him from the police station across the road, smashing the window in all the way up the stairs and chucking the advertisement guy out the window. Just an incredible piece of cinematography. I think that he absolutely knocks it out of the park. And ultimately, at the end, you're given a character that somehow you actually kind of care about.
What I think that really kind of ties a lot of it together, and it's something we touched on with the Banshees and Inisherin, and if anything, Banshees and Inisherin showcase their work more, but it's Carter Burwell's music in this film is mesmerizing. It's stunning. There's some really, really good scenes, and one of my favorite of the films, I think you're right, I think one of the best scenes, and again, the music really enhances it, is the Chief's death and his note and the way he's reading it to his wife. It's stunning. The music and then the soft violins behind it. But there's a fantastic other scene as well. It's where Mildred's talking to the deer, and she's like, you know, I don't know if I believe in reincarnation. You're not her, but yet she has this conversation, this breakdown in front of this wild animal that's just come up to her, and it's so moving. And a lot of that is down to Carter Burwell's music, and it's really nice to see. And in amongst all this music, you do have a soundtrack that kind of encompasses that country vibe that they're in. You know, that theme of the western nature of the town, and it's used so well. The song at the end is fantastic.
I agree. I think that McDonagh at this point in his career is really starting to get like the full package in terms of not just writing wonderful scripts, not just creating like funny or interesting characters, but also he's really starting to marry like impressive cinematography, loads of really impactful uses of music, and also not losing any of that talent that he had with writing and performance as well. I've got to mention, by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the inspiration for Three Billboards is actually from Martin McDonagh's own experience when he was traveling around.
Oh, really?
He found a bunch of actual billboards that were put up in regards to a husband of a lady that had been murdered. That little impact had sort of sat with McDonagh for a while. He'd sort of mulled it over, trying to figure out a little bit of a characterization, and rather than sort of creating a biopic or a real story about the real events and that sort of thing, he let it sort of in his mind become fiction and let it become something that was more of a story to be told, something he could play around with, and that little marriage of being informed by something real but allowing it to grow and develop and fictionalize it, I think is really impactful.
Yeah, I think he's done fantastic this film. I really love his use of imperfect characters, and just, you know, as he said, he's pulling together everything. The writing is next level. He's done class, McDonagh, and I do wonder if this is my favorite.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth between this and Banshees.
And
then every so often I go, oh, but In Bruges is so funny.
It's tough. I think it's just a testament to him as a director, and I can't wait for his next piece of work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we said it last week, but I completely agree with that. I absolutely cannot wait to see what he does next. But there is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of the film. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where it's time to take a look at the Meyerowitz stories.
Cheers, guys.
Until then, get watching.